to the first episode of mine and my co-author, writer, friend, person, Lux. Why don't you say hi to everyone?
Hello.
So
that's all you're getting.
That's all I'm getting. Well, Lux and I have been friends for many years, and we've been basically writing for about that long together, and we both have an issue with talking a lot about books and writing, so we figured that this would be a great way for us to actually, do something with it instead of just having it go into the ether.
Just screaming into the void, like on Tumblr.
Tumblr really is the void, but that's neither here nor there. So I wanted to kind of kick this off with our little bit of an introduction and or an origin story. Yes, we're going to do an origin story of our history with writing. Don't die on me. Don't die on me now. Oh no.
You made me squirt water out of my nose, you asshole.
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, I'm better.
Oh, you sound great.
Feels great. Yeah.
We'll give you a minute.
Oh, great way to start the first episode. Yep.
It's okay, most of this will probably get cut out.
No, you're leaving that in. It's too great to cut out.
Just me laughing at your suffering.
Uh-huh.
So, most of the people who are seeing this have come to my channel and they've seen at least my origins, sort of. But I'll just give a quick recap. Started writing when I was 12, doing Harry Potter fan fiction, usually pretty dirty fan fiction. Yeah, I've also been a part of several other fandoms, which they will remain nameless. But you know a few of them, but for the most part, I was kind of all over the place. And then I officially decided to start trying to write about 2018 with my first book. So most of my writing has been mostly fan fiction until I actually started to write. So that's all you're getting right now.
I started writing pretty young. I've always really liked writing stories. But I've had a few things published. When I was in community college, I had a short story published. It was a surrealist work that I was really proud of for some reason.
Surreal work is really hard to do. I can't seem to figure it out myself.
It's weird. But I'm trying to think if I think I've had a couple small little poems published in local newspapers and stuff. But
that's cool.
I've never really gone much farther until lately. I started working on a book that is a concept from Jess. Thank you for that gift, by the way.
You're welcome. I mean, the story itself I had created, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so cool. And then I realized how much work it was going to be. It's like, yeah, no.
It's a lot of characters to develop all at once.
See, I love character-based stories. That's why I have a fucking ensemble cast in my Hunter X Slayer series. So it's like, I need to stop with the ensemble casts.
You do. Trying to write Rosewood is the first cast alone is 9 people, and the first couple is literally 3 people mashed into 2 people.
Yeah.
It's been a trip to try to write.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm enjoying it. It's so much fun.
Okay. You also mentioned earlier that we're both big readers when we were talking off the podcast. But what is a book that you're currently reading, or you want to read, or something to that effect?
I'm currently in the middle of reading 2 books. One is a children's book. Most people know the movie. It's Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, I love that movie!
Yeah, the book is so interesting because it gives a whole lot of context to the characters that you never would have had just watching the movies.
Is Howl really as like vain? Is he like more vain than he is in the movie, in the book?
Yes, 100%. Like, he spends the first 4 chapters with Sophie in the castle, not even like really giving her attention, like not even really acknowledging that she's there.
Oh, dick.
Because he's so wrapped up in himself. And both Michael and Calcifer tell Sophie that he is a giant spendthrift, and that's why the castle is in such disrepair.
Oh God! Like I showed that movie to Nick recently, and I warned him. It's like, you're probably not gonna like Howl in the beginning because he is a bit of a dick. But then, like, towards the end, you might start liking him. And that, suffice it to say, that was his experience.
Okay, so me being the useless lesbian that I always was, I imprinted on Howl so hard because he was a pretty male character. And that's just the lesbian experience, imprinting on any pretty male character that looks kind of like a girl.
Oh. I thought I was the only one who did that. I'm not even lesbian. I'm bisexual, but it's like, yeah, anytime you'd have either a overly pretty guy or you'd have a kind of a butch woman, I like imprinted on that real hard.
Yeah, like Haku.
Oh, well, I liked him for a whole other reason.
That's because you like dragons. I know.
Yes, I do. I love dragons.
Also the Iron Lady, the lady from the Iron Village of Princess Mononoke. Oh, she made me so gay.
I actually didn't like Princess Mononoke, mostly because I think I saw it when I was really young, like middle school area, and I don't think I completely got the messages that Miyazaki was trying to sell in it.
Well, I didn't watch it until I was a little bit older. I think it wasn't until I was in 8th grade, so I was like 13-ish at that time.
Yeah.
I was like learning about that era of the world in our history class, so I kind of understood it.
Yeah, like I watched it with all my friends when we were like in middle school and like heading into high school, and we all thought that we were the shit.
Yeah.
That's about the time that I watched Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, Whisper of the Heart, and The Cat Returns.
I haven't seen The Cat Returns. I really want to, but
it's good. It's good. It's sort of a segue off of Whisper of the Heart, because Whisper of the Heart tells about the actual like minor history of the Baron, but then The Cat Returns is sort of I want to call it like a fan fiction of the Baron.
Amazing.
Okay, and you said that you were reading one other book?
Yeah, it's Chasing Cassandra, which is, like I said earlier, another in my long line of Lisa Kleypas books. And it is a historical romance novel, and I am a slut for historical romance novels.
Yes, you are. Me, currently, I actually have 3 books I've started and I just haven't finished. But I have like a whole list of 12 books that I want to read. One of the ones that I'm reading now is not even on this list. That's the kind of trash reader I am. The first one I'm reading is Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief by Lawrence Wright. It's one of the most definitive books on Scientology, and it is split up into two parts. The first part talks a lot about L. Ron Hubbard and how he started the church, and then the second part is about David Miscavige, who is the current leader of the church. And dear fucking Lord, this book, if I actually held a copy of this in my hands, it would literally be the size of one of George R. Martin's Game of Thrones books.
Fuck.
It's so long! I'm like chapter 5 or 6, and according to the audio file, I'm like on part 9.
Fuck.
The other one that I've been reading literally since August. I've literally been reading this book since last August. 1 year. I'm very slow on it.
August?
Yeah, last August. It is Marie Kondo's book, Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Mostly because... Yes, I am reading a self-help book on tidying.
Why didn't you just get the manga? It's so much easier to read.
Well, because I didn't... Wait, there's a manga?
Yeah, there's a manga.
Hold the fucking phone. Where was I in this?
Maybe I should have gotten you that for Christmas instead of the book I got you.
No joke. I opened that thing and I started cackling when I saw red, white, and royal blue. I'm like, should I tell Rex that I got this in Jersey? Yeah, I should probably tell him.
You never told me you were reading that book, and you usually tell me every book you're reading.
Because I wasn't actually reading it at the time, and I still haven't read it.
So you have 2 copies, and you still haven't read it.
I actually gave the copy I bought to my friend Bree. Like, right after I got your copy, I gave her the one I bought. So it's like, yay, mine. Share the love! But anyway, yeah, I am reading Marie Kondo's book because when I still had Netflix, I started watching her show Tidying Up. And I'm like, okay, what is this tiny little Japanese woman going to teach me about tidying that I don't already know? My God! Her way of doing things sounds very woo-woo, but it's actually quite interesting when you actually break it down and you look at it. I'm reading it slowly because a lot of the things she does I already kind of incorporate into my way of doing things, minus the whole, like, pick up every article of clothing that you decide that you don't want, thank it for covering your back, and then put it into, like, the pile. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to my clothes.
Don't talk to inanimate objects, people. That's how you get committed.
And then the last one I have right now is First Impressions by Jay Hogan. It's a self-published author that I found on Facebook. I actually won this in a giveaway. That's how I get a lot of my books, is actually from giveaways. But, yeah, I got this one. It's about, okay, let's see if I can actually remember their names. Michael is a doctor in Australia who ends up at a gay nightclub where it gets, like, shot up. I don't remember why. And the K-9 unit police officer, Josh, ends up having to protect him because the bad guys are trying to intimidate and hurt Michael into not testifying or talking to the police and everything. So
Rip.
It started off as very much like enemies to lovers, but, like, I think I'm on chapter 6, I think, and they've already fucked, and yes, they've already fucked, and they're kind of doing the whole, it's like, oh, this is just sex, it's not like any kind of relationship or anything.
Enemies to hate, sex to lovers.
I'm such a slut for enemies to lovers trope.
I know you are.
Yeah, but there's something great about an enemies to lovers trope, and that actually leads into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is our favorite tropes. So you obviously know one of mine. What is some of your favorite tropes? Like, if you have a couple that you particularly like reading or writing. I think I might know which ones you like, but I don't want to assume.
I am a slut for enemies to lovers.
Yep.
But I'm also a huge fan of the giant, like, one person is huge and looks intimidating, but is actually a cinnamon bun, and tiny person that looks like a ball of sunshine will murder you.
You basically live that kind of ideal, don't you?
I love it so much. Because I am the ray of sunshine that could murder you.
Yeah. See, I unintentionally kind of give that impression off to people. Like, I've actually had people look at me, it's like, why do you look like you're pissed off and about to eat someone? I'm like, I will eat your babies. No, not really. But I know...
Pleasant all the time. I can't help it. I just always have a smile because I work in retail.
Well, okay, that makes you die a little inside when you work in retail, because what's funny is, when I first started working retail, I wasn't living at home, and when I actually was getting into the thick of it, my mom had not heard my retail voice, and at one point I get on the phone with, like, some company, and I pull out my retail voice, and she's like, that's kind of scary. You don't sound like you. Like, go with the feeling.
Retail voice is terrifying because it's always like 3 pitches up, like, hi, thank you for calling, how can I help you?
Oh my god, yes, it's always like 3 pitches higher, and you always have like this plastic Stepford wife smile plastered on your face, and it's don't look at the dying eyes.
Yeah, you have like dead marble fish eyes. While you're smiling like you're from, like,
dead marble fish. I'm sorry, I love the image of dead marble fish eyes. One of the other tropes that I know you and I both particularly share is what's called May December, which is usually a younger guy with an older, more seasoned gentleman, which tends to also lead into the silver fox category. Or, what would the female equivalent of a silver fox be?
MILF.
I don't like the... can we think of a better word than MILF? Please. Like, even cougar isn't great. Because, what?
It's Stacy's mom. Stacy's mom.
What if Stacy's mom was Jesse's girl and their number was 8675309? I am showing my age right now. Oh my god, I'm showing my age so hard.
I love those songs though. Like, they're all bops.
So we mentioned what kind of genres you enjoy. You are a hoe for historical fiction. Is there any others other than historical fiction that you really like can get down with? Because I know you don't care for contemporary all that much.
Oh, I hate contemporary. It sucks. It's boring. Why would I want to read about where I'm living?
Fair, very fair.
No, I really like urban fantasy. Like The Raven Boys is one of my favorite books. No, when you tried to read it and you couldn't get into it.
I remember just like picking it up and I started reading it. I'm like, Lex is gonna hate me because I don't like this.
It's a hard book to read because it's a lot more description heavy. But it's in urban fantasy, you need a lot of description to differentiate the real world that we live in and the world that they're in, where there's magic.
Yeah, and
things.
And that wasn't really like, okay, that was part of my reasoning for not liking it, but the other reasoning was how things were, like, broken up. Like, the part where I actually stopped was a scene where Ronan? Yeah, fuckface who had anger problems.
Oh yeah, Roman is a dick for, like, his book, the second book, like...
Yeah, but, like, he and his motley crew were coming out of the diner that I think Blue works in. And Declan, his brother, mind you, that's the character I can actually remember his name, Declan. And it starts off a fight between them. But then, like, in the middle of the fight, it segues into explaining why he's fighting with his brother. And then it just segues right back into the action. And I'm like, this is the equivalent of going 55 in a car, asking to be stopped on the brakes, and then be told to go back to 55.
Yep, that's Maggie Stiefvater's writing style, and I love it.
More power to you, because I was just like, what?
Another genre that I really love is paranormal mysteries. Like, if it involves, like, ghosts and demons and death, I love it.
See, I'm on, like, I like all of those, but there has to be romance at the center of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm such a hoe for romance.
You should check out Victoria Laurie's books. That's one of the other shelves that I have full of the entire series.
I'll probably look it up after this on Goodreads. Cause, oh my god, I have nearly 1,000 books I want to read on Goodreads right now.
Her books have the best titles. Like, one of them is Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun.
I love it. I normally I hate puns and alliterations like to death. But when it comes to book titles, if a book title can make me laugh, I'm happy.
Another one is Ghouls Gone Wild.
What?
Ghouls Gone Wild.
That's hilarious.
My favorite title, though, is Ghoul's Guide to Love and Murder.
That sounds like one of those titles where it's like, what was that one book? I have it on the tip of my tongue. Like, I have the second book. It's like, A Woman's Guide to... it's something and petticoats.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about.
Oh, Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue was the first one, and then...
I actually have that book on my shelf. 1 second. A Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy.
That was it.
Yes, I have that on my shelf. I don't have a Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue yet, though.
I thought about reading that one and then reading the Lady's Guide, but I'm like, I don't know.
Lady's Guide has asexual representation in it, which I love.
Oh, okay.
And
I might pick it up.
Gentleman's has gay representation in it, which is amazing.
Yeah, most of my current library of books has been gay romance. I've been painstakingly also tracking any kind of lesbian romance that I find, mostly to give to you as a present.
Lesbian romance is better than any other kind of romance. Anybody can fight me on this, I will die on this hill.
You will die on this rock.
I will die on this hill. This is my cross to bear. Lesbian romance is best romance.
So far, I've only read one, and one of my biggest problems with it was they didn't actually give a description of the characters. They just kept saying how beautiful they were, or how pretty they were, or how sexy they were. I'm like, are you sure this was written by a woman?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So, that's why I have a growing list of lesbian fiction, and I'm like, I need to read some of these. And there's a couple of them that I was looking at that I'm like, ooh, Lux is going to love these. I'm just going to put it out there.
You have to read Date Night. It is written by a lesbian woman. I've screamed at you about this before because I love this book so much. It's about a lesbian librarian and a lesbian knight from another dimension.
Oh, yes. I thought it was called A Night to Remember. Or am I thinking of something else?
Oh, that's another one in that series.
Okay, that's why I thought about it, because I wanted to find the first book of that series, and that's A Night to Remember.
Yeah, it's A Night to Remember, and then Date Night is the sequel to that book, but there's a bunch of other night-related pun titles in that series. I love it. I love it so much. It's so good.
Yeah. It's like on my list for Audible books to get, and my subscription is going to be re-upping next month, and I should be getting 12 credits, so that will more than likely be one of the ones I get.
Do it. Anyway, back on track.
Okay.
Genres that you like.
Yeah, genres that I like. Romance definitely being one. That's probably the big overarching one. But I've also really gotten into mystery and kind of thriller-esque, but not in the traditional sense of thriller. Sort of more suspense thriller. Know what I mean? Kind of like Dan Brown, almost.
Now, is it murder mysteries or is it cozy mysteries?
I actually like both. If the murder mystery isn't so, like, gritty, think more like Murder, She Wrote versus Law and Order.
Okay, so you're on, like, the softer side of mystery.
Yeah, like you constantly tell me, I'm very soft.
You're on, like, the cookies and milk kind of. A black coffee and, like, an old chipped mug with coffee grounds at the bottom.
I'm sorry, I just had this image. I'm sitting in the coffee shop, and it's like, I got this nice, pretty mug that's like in the shape of a cat, and you got this old, dark, chipped mug.
Looks like it's been through the washing machine 1,000 times. It just looks like it's asking to be put out of its misery.
Yeah. I've also been looking into more sci-fi and fantasy, but the problem that I have with, like, sci-fi and fantasy is that it just goes way over my head most of the time, even though I'm now writing a sci-fi story.
That's fair.
I'm trying to break myself of it, because I do have a problem with, like, just my eyes glazing over, and it's like, get to a dialogue tag so I can actually figure out what the fuck is going on here.
If you do want to read, like, a sci-fi that's good and easy to follow, I suggest Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, but don't buy it from a bookstore.
Yeah.
A secondhand, because Orson Scott Card is a piece of shit.
He really is. That's why, like, when you first started saying Ender's Game, I'm like, hold up. I'm not sure if I could support that man.
Like, I want to throw hands with him, but, like, he's a really good sci-fi writer. I'm not gonna take that from him because it's really, really good. It's the only sci-fi book I've ever actually enjoyed. Like, he's a trash person. And I wrote an entire, like, 10-page essay about it.
I think I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, that was my final project for my literature class a couple semesters ago.
Oh,
and
yeah.
My teacher was trying to get me to title it Orson Scott Card, a bitch. Because she completely agreed with me.
That's hilarious.
It's great.
Okay. Okay. Since we're both writers, I was kind of curious what your way of writing is. Like, for me, I tend to write third person, past tense. At least I'm trying. I'm trying to break myself of that present tense bullshit I was doing earlier.
Yeah. Getting better at it. Like, you're getting a lot better at it.
Yeah. It's hard when you've been writing that certain way. It's like, okay, I need to use past, like, participles? Question mark?
Yeah.
So, what is your type of writing style?
So, and it's kind of weird because I'm also third person past tense, but I'm like a mix of omnipresent and, God, what's the other one? The one where it's like you're in the character's head, but also not in the character's head at the same time.
I think that is a version of like omnipresent, because I know that when you're only giving information that the character would know, it's limited, but I'm not entirely sure. I know I tend to also be kind of like sort of omnipresent, but also
I'm like half
limited,
half omnipresent.
Yeah.
Like, I like to switch between characters, which is a nasty habit that I need to break myself of because it's really hard to read books like that.
Head hopping.
But also, I like to give a worldview while also being in the character's head so you can have their thoughts and feelings rather than just what's going on around them.
Yeah. And I think that also comes from the fact that the stories that we tend to write, we're both technically writing from limited perspective of what our characters can see, but we're writing it together, so you get two different like perspectives at the same time.
Yeah. Like, Harry Potter was a very limited view of the wizarding world, and
yeah,
like, that's not the way that I want to write, but also Maximum Ride, on the other hand, is a very like limited view of in the character's head because it focuses on 6 separate children characters. And that's also not a way that I like to write because that's weird.
Fair. Like with me, I think just because I've had more like experience writing scripts, it's why I have such a problem with like inner voice and like inner exposition. That's why I tend to lean more towards dialogue in portraying what the character is either thinking or feeling or showing what their actions are doing.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. See, I really like inner exposition and description just because like that's a lot of the short stories that I wrote when I was younger was strictly like description and no dialogue because I hate dialogue. I hate writing dialogue because as an autistic person, I have the hardest time speaking like I'm a normal human being, and my teachers always like criticized it, so I avoided dialogue like it was the plague.
I think you talk just fine personally, but that's me. I'm also biased, so
I used to not. There was actually like a 6-month period where I didn't speak at all.
Yeah. Like when we
though.
Yeah, when we first started actually talking like years ago, and I had suggested like, do you need someone to talk to? You're like, no. I don't do well on the phone. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I'm still really bad about it. I'm super self-conscious about how I speak just rhythmically because I take a lot of weird pauses to collect my thoughts so I don't say everything in my mind all at once and make no sense at all.
See, I have the opposite problem. I have to take pauses because otherwise my brain will like trip over itself and it'll just be like word vomit. And I let the word vomit come regardless.
My ADHD makes it so I speak as fast as my brain moves, and other people don't understand me because their brains don't work as fast as my mouth moves.
Same.
That's why I like talking to ADHD people. It's fun.
Okay, well, we already covered part of this, like, in the beginning when we talked about what our history is, but you mentioned you've had publications, and obviously I've done 3 books, and you're currently working on one yourself. Hopefully it'll be a magnum opus. Because I'd kill for that. Like, I know that you were wanting to kind of stray a little bit from the romance and focus more on, like, the world building of it, but I still want to fucking read it.
There's still gonna be a little bit of romance, but I think I want it to be like, because it is a darker setting. Like the entire basis of it was darker, and I just wanted to push farther into that and I want it to be a bittersweet book rather than like a really happy, fluffy book, you know?
Yeah. I would definitely recommend when you go to, like, do tags and everything for it, mark it as a dark fantasy, because otherwise romance readers will fillet you.
Oh, I would never mark it to romance readers unless I wrote a true, like, full romance with all the kinky sex.
That's like me! But anyway, perfect segue, too. We already talked about your work in progress with Rosewood. Do you have any other works in progress you're kind of throwing about?
Well, a character, like, archetype that I really like is a broken free slave, essentially. Like, someone who is abducted and put into something that they don't like, and then they break free. I have a lot of characters that fit that archetype, like my newest D&D character, Dottie. And I really want to write about a character like that, but I don't know what kind of storyline I have yet, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
I have an old storyline from when I was in community college that I titled Scared and Alone, because it was about this girl being abducted from her mother and being put in an auction to aliens from like hundreds and thousands of different worlds, and it's about her breaking free and trying to find her way back home while also helping other people who have broken free, you know?
Nice.
Don't know what I'm gonna do with it though.
It's okay. I kind of had that same problem with basically all three of my series. Like, I have the Hunter X Slayer series, which has a fucking menagerie of different characters that they all have different strokes of story that they want to tell. And then the space opera one, the sci-fi with Equinox one, I don't have that many characters, like, actually fleshed out. So far I have 4. But I have so many races that I want to play around with, and I'm like, oh, too much. But the
races, it's so much fun.
I actually struggled so hard with it. I had so much trouble, like, thinking of distinguishing things for them as far as, like, a society goes, and what distinguishes them from other races. And I'm like, I kept kind of hearkening back to Star Trek, and I'm like, I really don't want people to just think that this is a Star Trek knockoff, even though that's, like, one of my biggest pieces of ideas.
Yeah.
But with the superhero one, which is actually a story set of plot lines that you and I created, that one I have, like, a slew of characters that I want to play with that we never got to.
Yeah.
But, like, the main cast of, like, 6, I'm like, I want to get to these. And surprisingly, those ones are wild. Yeah, and no joke, the character that I am most looking forward to is actually the character in the original one that I didn't like at all, and that's Anaba.
Anaba, yeah.
Yeah. But, like, in the original one, I didn't like her because, like, I had the picture that you had sent of me for her that was, like, the character reference, but every time she opened her mouth, she was just, like, old woman. And she was so judgy, so judgy. And I just could not get behind her.
Well, to be fair, she was a few hundred years old at that point, so.
Yeah, didn't she live through, like, the Trail of Tears?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I have like worked with her and tried to keep with the same basic idea of her, but now she's, at least in my eyes, more likable, at least to me, even though she has still a lot of flaws. She doesn't sound so much like an old woman anymore. She more sounds like a brainwashed war veteran, if that's probably the best way I could go with that.
Hi, this is Jessica. Just wanted to pop in for a quick plug about where you can pick up a copy of my Reaper series. If you like YA and you're interested in a supernatural murder mystery with LGBT plus characters, this is a series for you. Stand Up Fight Back is book 1 and begins the adventure, followed by Stand Up Breakout, and then Stand Up Obtain Control. They're available in paperback, ebook, and Kindle Unlimited on Amazon. And now, on to the rest of the podcast.
Sorry, my cat just decided to yeet my medicine across my room.
It's like, no medicine for you!
No Adderall for you! Suffer!
But yeah, she definitely feels more like weary war veteran than old woman now.
Yeah.
We'll kind of see what happens.
Like a sad old man.
Sad old man. I have been doing your least favorite genre. I do have a a contemporary that I have been kind of tossing around in my head. I haven't been working on it, but it's been it's been tossed around in my head. It's like a salad. But I know exactly what you're thinking. It's like, Jess, you need to stop starting new projects and just finish one.
You do. At least have you finished your Reaper series?
No. I actually decided to take a break on that one.
Fuck.
Okay, straight up, 3 books in 2 years.
Yeah, you definitely needed a break on that, and you need to slow down on writing. Because you're gonna burn yourself out so quickly.
Yeah, but you know the ADHD brain, it don't want to sit still.
You're right. Like, you're not wrong. But also...
I'm also wrong.
But also, you know ADHD brain will burn itself out in like a week before it's satiated at all.
Well, that's why, like, with the writing routine that I've kind of figured out is, like, Monday through Thursday, I work on my main series, which currently right now is the Hunter X Slayer series. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is all for, like, catch-up and things that I need to do or I want to do. And if I have time, I'll work on one of my other 2 series, the Superhero or Equinox. And if I don't work on it then, oh well.
Oh well.
Yeah. What about you? What's your kind of writing routine that you do?
Well, right now, because I'm at work from essentially 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., I take the time between customers to write what I can. And then on my days off, I literally can't force myself to write right now because I'm so tired.
Understandable.
Them 9-hour shifts.
Yeah.
If I swear to God, knock that over, I will kill you.
No killing the cat.
Okay, but she just tried to yeet a literal rock off of my bed.
Ooh, that's not good.
It's a hagstone that my coworker got from me when he was up north. And I like it quite a bit because it's a very pretty shade of green.
Yeah.
She just tried to break it.
Oh.
Shit.
Don't break it. But yeah, like, I have so many things going on right now with my 3 works in progress. And the ones that are being, like, particularly loud right now is a lot of people in the Hunter X Slayer series, like fucking Micah. Micah is being extremely loud right now. For everyone listening to this, Micah is one of the villains in the first book, The Hunter and the Cultist. And because of this one here, they suggested that they should get a book as well. And I'm like, okay, I can do a redemption arc.
Look, they just need a little bit of love. They were brainwashed. They were abused. They just need a little bit of love, a little bit of TLC.
Yeah, and that TLC comes in the form of a feral werewolf, who's also not so great.
I love it. Well, that's another trope that I love. Any like feral character that's being rehabilitated and helped to become better and also loved and finding their family, like found family trope.
Oh yeah,
perfection.
I love found family, and I also love redemption arc. Like,
oh yeah,
no joke. Okay, just recently, I don't know if I told you this story, but I had recently found where my original love for redemption arc came from.
Where?
Okay, this is gonna really date me, but do you remember the Care Bears movies?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm really dating myself here. But the movie, I think it was like New Generation, where you got to see them when they were like kids, and then they grew up during the movie, which made no frickin' sense. But there's a lot of things in those movies that doesn't make a whole lick of sense. But the main bad guy is the guy Darkheart. And in the beginning, he is just hyped of being like the worst of the worst of bad guys. He's going to destroy all happiness and love. And I'm like, oh, give me. This is why I like Loki. I like Draco Malfoy. I love Lucius. I love most bad guy characters because I want that redemption arc to...
Rowling did Draco Malfoy so dirty by not giving him a redemption arc.
Oh my God, she did him so dirty.
I mean, like, giving Snape a like 2-page redemption arc when she could have given Draco a redemption arc, like, dirty.
Like, honestly, my opinion of Snape has gone, like, the whole rainbow of emotions, but honestly, like, I love him as a character. I do not like how she wrote him. That's why I'm like, okay, there's a big difference between J.K. Rowling Snape and fanfiction Snape. Big difference.
I hate Basil, I swear to God, do not take that. Sorry, my Pitbull just tried to take baby puppy's Chewy and was like trying to sneak it, thinking that I wouldn't see him.
He's trying to be slick.
He did. He was moving so slow. Anyway, Snape as a character that J.K. Rowling wrote was shitty. Snape as a concept, revolutionary, impeccable.
Yeah.
I like a spy that has been beaten down so much by both sides that he is morally gray and is only there to fulfill his promise. Like, that's an amazing character and had so much potential.
Yeah.
Good.
But, like, to just have him be a dick because he was friend-zoned by Lily, because that's essentially what she wrote him as. It's like, he's pissed that the girl that he liked friend-zoned him, and he took it out on her son. And that's really shitty.
Yeah.
But
like, she took a great character concept and shat on it.
Yeah. And I also feel like she did Lucius pretty dirty.
Just
because
the concept is pretty good, and he's hot.
Yeah.
So.
Oh god, Jason Isaac. Oh,
oh fuck yeah. As a lesbian, he's hot. Okay.
He's a very pretty man, but like his character type, it's like he's this aristocrat who's been raised to believe that he is the end all be all of shit, and then the choices that were he's kind of like Draco in a way, where it's like his choices were kind of already laid out for him, so he was going to follow that path regardless. But then when he's realizing, oh shit, what I've set my family into is not great. Yeah. I don't know how to get out of this.
Like, I also really love the trope of characters, like, big masculine male characters that are, like, all hoity-toity, kind of, like, antagonistic. I love seeing them being taken down a peg.
Yeah.
Being put in their place by someone younger and much more confident in their own being.
Like, your audio now just suddenly sounds like a robot. That was kind of cool.
Fuck.
But yeah, like, I kind of wish that Lucius had been dealt with better. There's a lot of characters in the J.K. Rowling universe that I wish would have been, like, given better than what they got.
Yeah.
Like, one of my biggest pet peeves, and this is just from a personal writing perspective, is the whole thing with the epilogue and naming the children after people who have died. And there's one name conspicuously absent of, like, people who have helped Harry in his life, who he could have easily named his daughter after.
Yeah.
Hagrid got the short end of the stick on that one. It's like, you could have named your daughter Ruby.
You know who else
like,
got the short end of the stick?
Who?
Remus.
Which one?
Remus.
Oh, yeah, Remus. Well, okay. Remus got the short end of the stick, but he did have a son to carry on his name, so...
He did, but also...
Gosh.
I will never not be mad about this. J.K. Rowling had Harry name his youngest son Albus Severus Potter, and he could have named the boy Albus Remus Potter, because Severus tortured that boy for years. But like a two-page redemption arc.
Yeah,
okay. The one who helped raise him after he found him again.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not salty. No, I'm not salty.
I'm salty because it's like, okay, the whole thing about Albus Severus. I'm like, Albus brought him supposedly to Hogwarts. Motherfucker. Ooh, getting heated. But here's my point. Albus did not deserve to be a name that his son has, because he was power hungry, he was manipulative, he was like the worst.
Raise children soldiers.
Like, McGonagall hit it on the head. It's like, you are raising this boy just for him to die. He is cattle. They should have named the second son Remus Rubius Potter. That is my soapbox. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, can we talk about how dirty they did the characters in casting, like the adult characters?
Oh, yeah.
Severus was only supposed to be like in his late 20s, early 30s.
Like, I love Alan Rickman, but he was way too old for the part. But then again, this is also Hollywood, where they like to make adults play teenagers.
Yeah, and like Sirius and Remus, I love their characters. I love the men who play them, but also they were also supposed to be in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Lucius was supposed to be mid 30s.
Yeah, wasn't he like the oldest, like out of the group of them?
Yeah.
Like, J.K. Rowling's whole thing with, like, a lot of her world building is super squishy soft. There's some hard and fast rules, but for the most part, there's a lot of softness.
Like, okay, the one thing about J.K. Rowling's, like, world and how she has wizards, they're supposed to live until they're like 200 or some shit. I think they would age like normal human beings. They would be like skeletal by the time they reach like the age to die. No, they would age the way that fucking elves would age, like 1 year for every 10 years, essentially, after they're adult.
Yeah, they would, for Dumbledore to look as old as he is, I have another thing about Dumbledore, but I'll wait on that for a second, but, like, motherfucker must be, like, frickin' ancient. But then, like, you look at the timeline for his life, and you know at least, 50 years from, what the hell year does Chamber of Secrets...
His timeline makes no sense, though, because, like, he was supposed to be a young man in, like, the 40s, but he was also supposed to be, like, a fully grown adult teacher at that same time, even though, like, there's just so many plot holes surrounding Dumbledore.
Yeah. And that's why, like, Crimes of Grindelwald, mind you, I still have yet to watch it because I think it should have just stopped at the first one. It was fine, but yeah, Dumbledore's whole thing just makes not a frickin' lick of sense. And I can't remember the other point I was gonna make about Dumbledore.
Just like the entirety of Dumbledore is bad. That character is bad, and J.K. Rowling should feel bad.
There's a lot of things that J.K. Rowling should feel bad for, just in general.
I hate J.K. Rowling so much.
You know, okay, all of her BS and everything that is coming out about her. See, she was, like, one of my big, like, how do I put this? Role model, like, when I first started writing. But then I actually, like, took a real critical eye to what she's done as far as her body of work. She's not gold. She's not, like, role model material.
Like, Harry Potter as a series is revolutionary because it took the entire world by storm, and it got children who never enjoyed reading to sit down and read multiple chapter books in very short periods of time, which was amazing. It made so many people love reading. Also, we have to take it for what it is. It's a children's book.
Yeah.
And it's written by someone who had never written before and has no actual, like, training or practice in writing beyond writing Harry Potter.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately why it's so sad, because she's trying so desperately hard to hold on to that fame that she got from Harry Potter. And that's why the few times she's branched out and tried to write other things, they're not good.
Yeah, I tried to read the other book that she wrote, the first adult attempt at a book. Can't remember what it's called. I know the cover was like yellow with orange dots or something.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't as good as I would have hoped, considering it was J.K. Rowling, the current best author in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was bad.
And she's ultimately killing her own franchise because she's trying to retcon it. She's trying to change what she wrote. And it's like, you do realize you're basically destroying what you created, right?
Yeah.
You're pulling a George Lucas.
Yeah. Like, my biggest critique with her and like all of her retconning stuff and everything is if it's not portrayed in the book, don't say it. Like, Dumbledore was gay. Okay, show it. Show us that he was gay. Give us something other than him being in this abusive, like, semi-pseudo relationship with Grindelwald, who is literally wizard Nazi.
Wizard Nazi?
He's literally a wizard Nazi bent on creating a new wizard genocide.
Wow.
Wizard
Yeah,
Hitler.
like I can understand some of the critique when it comes to Dumbledore's sexuality, because it's like Harry wouldn't have any reason to know, and because, as we mentioned earlier, it's written from a very limited perspective. But there was a lot of like gay coding with him that it's like, okay, I kind of figured, and that part wasn't the part that really irked me when it came to her retconning. It was to insinuate that Harry was always supposed to be mixed race and Hermione was supposed to be black. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, show it.
It's
Show
like,
it in the book.
see, here's the thing. From what I've read of her, like, justification, she did write some, like, mixed race things for Hermione, like the big hair, the buck teeth, but other than that, she left it really, really open for interpretation. And to kind of bring this all home, she personally vetted every single cast member that was put onto Harry Potter. So if Hermione and Harry were supposed to be of mixed race and or black, why did she get Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson?
Yeah, I'm sure there were plenty of mixed race children who wanted that role.
Mm-hmm. And then, like you pointed out in one of our conversations way back, it's like there's only two or three like actual Asian characters.
And they're all racist.
They're all like racist and or just not there. Like Cho Chang, I just remember hating her in the book and hating her in the movie because it's like, bitch, you need to get off of Harry's left nut after Cedric died. It's like, Harry is not your rebound man.
She literally took Cho Chang and she literally named her Cho Chang.
Yeah.
She literally named her the most racist, stereotypical Chinese name. And then cast a Japanese girl play her.
Yeah.
And then literally made her all Asian stereotypes of being suppressed and sweet and quiet and smart, and then also being like a giant slut.
Yeah. And then the Patali sisters? I can never freaking pronounce their last name. Pavarti and Padma?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they were in two to three scenes of the Goblet of Fire movie, and I can't even freaking remember them in the book.
Literally, they were in the book for half a chapter because of the Yule Ball scene, and that was it. And they were mentioned, like, twice in the first book, but other than that, nothing. And you would think that having someone literally in your house, you would be interacting with them a lot because you have the same classes, have the same everything. You sit at the same table to eat.
Yeah. And the one thing that was also really like annoying, and I actually got into an argument with an old friend of mine over this, was the rendition of Blaise Zabini in Slytherin, because in the movie they don't actually give this character a name. Like, it's the third movie when they're out in the snow and Harry's fucking around with the invisibility cloak, and there's the one white dude that, I think he got his hat pulled over his head.
Yeah.
And I think that was their attempt at Blaise, but that's not him. He's black. And it's one of the few times she actually put in what his race is in the book, but she doesn't mention it until book 6.
Yeah, like, I think she mentioned that he was dark-skinned once.
Yeah.
And then,
but
it was bad.
And then, of course, the movies changed Pansy Parkerson, like, twice.
Yeah.
Like, the first one, the one that I remember seeing was the third movie. It was the girl with the dark hair and the bob cut, sort of like Velma from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I remember her.
And then when they brought her back for, like, books, for movies 6 and then the 2 parts, she had, like, this long, stringy red hair, and it was, like, a completely different actress.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. And, like, literally, like, 2 black characters.
Oh, Lee Jordan, too.
Lee Jordan and, Angela.
Oh, Dean Thomas, too.
Thomas, yeah. I don't think he was written as black in the book.
Yeah, I don't know if he was black in the book. I know that Lee Jordan was, and I knew very little about Angela, other than the fact that she was hot for the twins.
Yeah, the whole Weasley family has me fucked up, though.
Yeah, like, okay.
Because
I know that...
quite racist.
yeah, like, okay. Here's my ultimate problem with the Weasley family. Like, as a whole, if you just look surface level, they're fine. But Molly is a bitch. Yeah, she's a badass later on, but she's still a bitch, considering she didn't like Fleur. If I remember correctly, she didn't like Fleur when Bill wanted to marry her.
Yeah.
And then, like, honestly, like, it's stated very quickly in the first movie about how she can't tell her own twin sons apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, these kids are at minimum, let's see, fifth book is when they were in their 7th year, so they're at minimum 13 years old in the first book. Why do you not know which son is which by the time they're 13?
By the time they're 12, 11, 10.
Yeah.
You literally a stay-at-home mom and you raise these children, and yet you don't know who is who.
Though I will say Arthur does kind of make me laugh. I love when you first are introduced to him in the movie, and he looks over at Harry and is like, and who are you? You know, in the back of his mind, he was like, when did we get a dark-haired one?
I didn't know they came in the dark-haired variety.
Oh, and why don't we talk about the rather strained relationship between Harry and Ginny?
Yeah, that was really forced.
Like, honestly, okay, tell me if you were, like, feeling this, but when I think it was the 7th movie, part 1, came out, and Harry and Hermione had that moment where they were dancing in the tent, did your heart not go like, please stay with her, don't follow the books?
Honestly, I was never really a Harmony fan. Like, I couldn't get into it because they're too much like siblings in my mind.
That's fair. Like,
but also, I feel like Hermione is a lesbian.
I mean, okay, short of either being a lesbian, she needs to go with Crumb. Just flat out. If she's not going to go for a woman, she needs to go with Crumb. Because at least, yeah, he's not the most intellectually sound, but he is moldable.
They did Crumb dirty because in the book he was a little bit intelligent, but they made him so dumb in the movies.
Well, the reason that they did that is because the actor who played him doesn't speak English.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they did that also in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
In both of those, they had characters that were supposed to have lines, but because they couldn't speak English, they just didn't have them say shit. And I'm like, why?
Let's get actors that speak the language you're making the movie in.
Yeah.
Or help them learn the language.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. This basically just turned into the roast of, like, Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling.
Just like an hour of J.K. Rowling hate. Anyway, back on topic. What were we even talking about? Oh, redemption arcs. We were talking about...
Wow, you actually managed to get us back on topic. Okay.
We were talking about Care Bears and redemption arcs.
Yes. So, back onto this segue. Darkheart's redemption arc in that Care Bears movie was just fantastic because he went from being the biggest, baddest asshole of them all to being cared for by the very person he was manipulating, which I don't know what that says, but then he actually cares about her when he hurts her, legitimately so.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Like, vaguely.
Like, okay, I didn't remember everything, but I remembered certain aspects of it, and I remembered that I liked it, and then I went on a spree of, like, renting things from the library, and one of them was that Care Bears movie, and I looked for that scene that actually starts to turn him around, and the line that Christy, the girl, says, after she saves him, mind you, he can't swim, he ends up getting knocked out and knocked into the water while they're on a boat, and she dives in and saves him, and he asks her, why? Like any villain would. And she says, good or bad, you're still a person.
There, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and it's like, see, she saw a person that was still worthy of help, and that's ultimately why I like redemption arcs. If the redemption is actually done well.
You know what got me into redemption arcs? Zuko.
Oh, okay. I've only watched the first 2 episodes of The Last Airbender, but just hearing everyone talk about Zuko makes me want to actually go back and watch it.
Oh, you need to. It's the best. It's one of my favorite shows, honestly. It handles like issues so well, and it really does justice to the redemption arc, and it does exactly what you would have wanted Game of Thrones to do for Daenerys.
Yeah.
In her final losing her mind in like an hour, because it literally lost her mind in like half a day.
Okay, I never actually watched Game of Thrones, mostly because I cannot handle on-screen depictions of rape and sexual assault and all that. That's why I stopped reading Lore Olympus, because when that shit happened between Persephone and Apollo, the minute that happened, I just felt so sick to my stomach, because it was not like war, and that was the part that I really was like just hard pass, and I just stopped right there, and I never went back to it, even though you told me that he does get shit happen to him, but I'm like, I can't trust this author.
That author gets better with trigger warning, because she got a lot of shit for it. Like every episode going forward that even mentions that, she trigger warns really heavily and is like, hey, if you have triggers relating sexual assault and rape, don't read this episode.
Yeah, and that's ultimately, like, I loved the story of it. I was really fucking frustrated with a couple of things, but I was enjoying it. But yeah, that's why I really love redemption arcs. Like, redemption arcs are like, it's really hard to take a character that it's like, I hate you on sight, and go to, I actually really like you.
Yeah, thing about Avatar: The Last Airbender and Prince Zuko is that he's always been a likable character. Like, they never made him, like, he was bad, and he definitely, like, tried to kill Aang quite a few times, and he did a lot of despicable things, but you get to see his side of things a lot, and find out all of his trauma, and why he's like this, and why he's doing this, and we watch him grow, not just in, like, his arc, but, like, through the entire show.
And I actually saw a really interesting analysis of Zuko. And someone made the connection. It's like, Zuko is autistic.
Yes, he is. 100%.
And I read through this, like, 50-page slideshow on Facebook, just reading every detail that they gave of backing up their assumption that Zuko is autistic. And by the end, I'm like, yeah, I could see that.
Oh, I've always believed that he was heavily autistic, because he obsesses over things the same way that I do. And just doesn't relate to humans the way that I do. And I love him, and I appreciate him, and he is a great character. He is my baby. That's all.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I wanted to watch it, and I really was interested in the story, but it just started off so slow. And at the time I watched it, it was when it was still on Nickelodeon, and it was still just kind of gearing up.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into it.
It picks up around, like, the third episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first two episodes have a lot of backstory and a lot of, like, world building, and can't really do much, because he hasn't even started learning any of, like, the more offensive bending techniques. But by the third and fourth episode, he starts to learn water bending, and he really starts in with the traveling, and it's really interesting. I highly recommend you give it a second go.
Yeah. I am sad, though, to hear that the creators have left the live-action Netflix version of it, because they're no longer working on it anymore. They've just straight up left.
Did you hear why, though?
Oh, yeah. I saw their reasonings, and I completely agree. But Netflix basically wanted to bastardize their creation.
Netflix wanted to make it what CW did to Archie, which I do not agree with.
Like, when I first heard of Riverdale, I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that like Archie Bunker? And then when I actually saw, like, clips of it, I'm like, what is this hot garbage?
Like, Riverdale it's fun, it's great, but, like, it's nothing like comics.
Yeah.
And it does have LGBT representation that's, like, healthy and happy and great, but to have that in a show that is super depressing and super attempted to be nitty-gritty and shit, doesn't really fit, and it's not really good.
That's why I didn't really get into Riverdale. Like, I remember watching some Archie cartoons when I was younger, but I don't have that many memories of it. I was more upset when I heard about the My Little Pony's Friendship is Magic than I was about Riverdale, honestly.
I have such bad connotations with My Little Pony because most of the people that I knew that were into My Little Pony were dudes.
Yeah.
They weren't like the cool like guys who were like, "Oh yeah, I watched My Little Pony. It's a cute little show." They were like, "I want to fuck a horse."
What the fuck? What the hell? Okay, my biggest problem was with the design of them because I grew up with the original My Little Pony where they actually looked like, yeah, their heads were giganto, but at least their proportions were somewhat accurate. This one, they were all like super skinny and super thin, and the forced randomness with Pinkie Pie just got on my last frickin' nerve.
I can't deal with My Little Pony at all ever.
But I will say that the few things that I have seen that came out of it, it's like, okay, more power to you, just don't put it over here. It's kind of how I felt with Steven Universe for a long time. It was like overly hyped, and I was just like, yeah, I respect what you guys are doing for LGBT youth, but holy shit, you're a fan.
Okay, but I was one of those rabid Steven Universe.
Yeah. And I understand that. Like, I've actually now gotten to the point where I'd actually be okay with watching it, but it was the just absolute rabid fandom that just, like, really turned me off for it.
I wasn't rabid, I was feral. There's a difference. I was feral in that I would stand up for anybody saying that Rebecca Sugar was a sellout and just like bashing on like the fandom for no reason. But I wasn't one of those rabid fangirls who was going out of their way to literally send hate and death threats to people who didn't like Steven Universe.
Yeah. It's like the people who are mad at Vizzy Pop for Has Been Hotel. It's like, you guys do realize that this is an adult cartoon, right?
Yeah, people are so mad about Has Been Hotel being picked up, even though they're the same people who are asking for like adult cartoons written by women and that are like written by queer people and are written by people of color. And literally everybody that works on that cartoon is queer, male aligned, and of color.
Yeah. And what's ultimately kind of annoying about it and really sad is that they put Angel Dust into the middle of that because they're saying it's like, oh, well, you have a questionably queer character who is into sex and is a admitted slut, and it's like, okay, first off, one, they're in hell. It's actually a good thing to be calling yourself a slut. Just saying. Secondly,
as a non-binary slut, I love Angel Dust, who is another non-binary slut, and is representation for me and the big old titties. Okay.
Exactly. And I love Angel Dust. I love how they're represented. And there was actually someone who commented on a thread on Twitter about the hate that Vizzy Pop has gotten because of Angel Dust. And he said it's like, what people don't understand is that there are a lot of older people in the LGBT universe that remember a time when if you weren't completely accepted by your family, you got kicked out and you had to sell yourself if you had no other option. And more than likely, when Angel was alive, that's more than likely what he did. He or she did. I never know which one to put. I think because I wasn't sure if they use male pronouns or non-binary pronouns with he basically said that they want it sanitized like Steven Universe, but they still want the characters that are witty and sarcastic and sassy like Angel, but they don't want the darkness that comes with that kind of humor.
Like, there's the thing about the people who don't like Has Been Hotel. They're the people who want the LGBT to be like the ooh-woo soft child stereotype rather than, real living people. They're the people who want to go to Pride and not see anybody in kink gear or anybody like making out or grinding or like being sexual in public because that's not the image that they want.
They want it PG, and that's not like, okay, if a straight couple can full-on make out or have sex on screen, and that's okay, but it's like the minute that you have two women or two men or a non-binary person and their partner going at it, that's wrong. And it's like, what the hell? Why?
Literally, what? Okay, I watch Family Guy and I watch American Dad and I watch all of these cartoons because I like adult cartoons. But all the time, there's a straight couple having sex, someone that's straight and cis overdosing, someone that is straight and cis doing all of these things. But the minute LGBT person does it, it's bad. We shouldn't allow it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same thing where it's like if a woman starts getting like uppity and starts smacking around her partner, they're like, oh, you shouldn't like persecute her because she's a woman. It's like, no. Susan B. Anthony made it very clear that a woman should be held to the same standards. But ultimately, that's also why, like, okay, as problematic as South Park can be, because it is, they've actually handled a lot of questionable topics decently well. I haven't gotten to, like, the further section. I'm, like, stuck at season 10. But when they came out with the characters Tweek and Craig dating, they've actually handled it really well. I'm quite surprised.
I really wish I could get into South Park, but I can't. The voices are fucking annoying.
And it's even more hilarious when you realize that all those voices are basically the same four people, just with different inflections.
Exactly. That's why I hate it so much. I hate cartoons like that.
See, okay, I will say that there are certain things in South Park that I still really don't care for. Like, I hate Cartman. I hate Cartman with a fiery passion. That's what I mean when I say, like, redemption arcs that actually are something that need to happen. I had someone talk to me about a redemption arc for him, and I'm like, no, hard pass. Because he does not have any kind of inkling that he deserves one. Like, he's a racist, homophobic, bad kid. And ultimately, like, in the grand scheme of things, even the creators are like, he's not good.
Yeah, Cartman is the trashiest character and he's like the main reason I don't like South Park to begin with, just because he's anti-Semitic, he is racist, he's homophobic.
Mm-hmm. They've literally said that they created him so that he is that angry voice inside of everyone who wants to say whatever is on their mind, but can't. That is ultimately his entire character. And props to them, they've created that character to be that way, but I don't like him. That's why, like, for the most part, any storyline that revolves around him, I'm like, everyone else I like, it's just him. But yeah, I stopped watching, like, Family Guy. I never watched American Dad. I do love Futurama, though.
Oh, I love Futurama. It's one of my favorites.
Like, Nick can't stand Futurama. He honestly wants to, like, punt every single character, and I'm like, it's okay. I want to as well. But, like,
Futurama handles a lot of really big issues really well, but
the only
really bad sometimes too.
Yeah, like the one part, and I think I could speak for basically anyone who is a fan of Futurama, that was just not okay. Seymour, that fucking dog. I can't. Okay, if I know that episode is coming up, I will skip over that because my heart cannot handle that.
Which one was it again?
That was the one where Fry ends up finding the fossilized remains of his dog Seymour.
Oh yeah, that one fucks me up.
Yeah, and it's kind of like watching those NSPCA commercials where you have like all the really sad cats and dogs staring at you. And it's like, stop that!
Trying to guilt me into this.
Like, you're trying to guilt me into adopting these animals. I can't handle that.
We'll have all of the animals. Don't test me.
Yeah, you have all the animals. I just got 2 dogs, so...
3 dogs, 3 cats. 3 dogs, 2 cats. I did not get another cat, I promise. Might, but I haven't yet. The will has stayed strong.
I'm still trying to convince Nick to, when we eventually get our own place again, to get a cat. He's like, no. I'm like, why?
Cats are the purest babies. We all need cats in our lives.
Oh.
What were we talking about again?
We were talking about... Yeah, we were talking about redemption arcs, but then we moved on to, like, other things as far as, like, writing goes, but we strayed so far from the original topic.
Let's see, what other topics we have that we can talk
Okay. Ebook, paperback, or audiobook? Which is your favorite?
Paperback when I have time to sit and read. Audiobook when I'm at work and when I'm driving. Because to get to school, it is an hour one way and an hour back. Sometimes 2 hours back because of traffic. So I can kill an audiobook in like 3 trips.
Nice. There's a couple of audiobooks I found in the Audible Escape. No joke, there was one I saw that was 20 hours.
Yeah, there's some wild ones.
And I'm like, yo, bro, why? Like, Red, White, and Royal Blue, I think that one is 12 hours. But the book is fucking thick, so it's like it makes sense.
Yeah, most romance novels are a little bit shorter like that. My mom actually only listens to audiobooks that are 30 hours or longer.
By choice?
By choice.
For me, my problem is that, like, I don't know if you have this problem, but it's like if I start reading something on page, like in a book or on an e-reader, I start either getting tired or I just get bored and I walk away. I don't know. I feel like that's a me thing.
For me, it can be hard to read like paper books because I'm dyslexic. But I found that because of my ADHD, if I don't take my medicine, I can just sit and read for literal hours. I have finished Harry Potter, the 4th book, literally one day.
Ooh, that's a marathon right there.
I can read about 400 pages in 6 hours if I'm in one of my hyper focus modes.
Yeah, that was me yesterday. Well, okay, it was me yesterday because I got sucked into like a 5-hour session of Stardew Valley. And what I do is I'll either play Stardew Valley or Minecraft, and I'll just have, like, my audiobook playing. Depending on the audiobook, I do wear headphones, because Nick don't need to hear the sexy times going on between 2 dudes. But I was listening to Going Clear yesterday, and I literally got through, like, 5 hours of that damn thing.
Jesus.
Just yesterday.
Jesus.
That's why, like, sometimes it's like, I look back over to Discord and it's like, oh shit, Lux said something. I am absolute trash when it comes to checking it.
It's okay. I am too sometimes.
That's why it's just like, boop, I'm still here.
Hey, are you awake? Are you alive? Are you good? You good? Good.
Usually by about 11:30, if you haven't messaged back, I know you're passed out.
Yeah, that's usually around like 2:30 my time, so yeah. That's about the time I wake up. That's the time I fall asleep every night, and I wake up at 7 o'clock every morning.
Okay, so Going Clear is 17 hours and 24 minutes. I have no idea how far into it I actually am.
You know, I actually haven't listened to an audiobook in a while. Last audiobook I listened to was that one, A Case of Possession by KJ Charles.
Oh, I love KJ Charles. That's great historical fiction.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to you about the first book, and I started listening to the second book, but I kind of abandoned it at chapter 8 because I got bored. Stop meowing at me.
Wasn't that the Magpie Lord series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read the first one, and then, A Case of Possession. I haven't gotten into the second one because, legitimately, with the first one, I had some trouble with trying to figure out the magic system and how it was working. Literally, like, the last quarter of the book, I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was just... It's like we got a roller coaster. It was like, I have no idea where we're going. I'm just kind of hanging on.
That's how I was with the second book. Yeah. I was listening to it and I was cleaning and I realized I have no idea what's been going on for the past 20 minutes.
I get that with Going Clear because it is so long and it's very, very dry.
Oh God.
Like, it's nonfiction, so naturally you're going to have a problem with it just being nonfiction and being more, it reads like an informational packet, like a history book. And, like, I understand where Lawrence Wright was going. He was wanting to give as much information. But if you want great information about not only an amazing person, but also the Church of Scientology, Leah Remini's Troublemaker is so much better.
Yeah.
It's like half the length and just so much better. I'm actually looking through my Audible right now.
You know what book I want to listen to? I started reading it back when it came out and I was still working at Barnes & Noble. It's called Recipe for a Perfect Wife.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think I told you about it. Tell you about all the books always. But it's about a woman who had a husband convince her to move into a house that she didn't want, and she found these old recipe cards from a woman living in the 50s who poisons her husband.
I do remember you talking about this.
And I started reading it, and it's written so well, and it's so interesting. But I was gonna buy it just before the quarantine came, but then my store shut down, and I was out of a job, so I couldn't really pay for it. So to read it, I just realized my mom still has it on her Audible, and I do share her account. So
read it. Yeah, I need to get back to a couple of series. Like, okay, I know I've gushed to you about my love for Layla Rainey and her book, and I've kind of dragged my feet on her Fog City series, mostly for one big reason, because the first two books of her trilogy are written from only a single perspective, and I can't handle that. I understand why she did it, and I know the third book is from both of their perspectives, but going through the entirety of Prince of Killers from Hawes's point of view, and knowing that Kingslayer is all from Chris/Dante's point of view, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, I need to get back to Fog City because I know that she's working on books 4 and 5, which are technically like standalones because they're not following the same couple. And it's the first, like, one of them is her first female one. And I am fucking stoked about it. You have no idea how much I'm stoked for that one. Because I love the character she created for this one, Helena. And she is badass lawyer from a family of assassins who could cut you with her high heel.
I love that.
So I am so stoked for hers. And I think she's actually getting with the character Chris's sister. So it's like sisters getting together from two separate families.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But I also want to get back to Cordelia Kingsbridge. She did the Seven of Spades series of books. And they're all set in Vegas. And I love it. I read the first one, Kill Game, and it was so good because there was a lot of things in there that I'm like, I can relate to being someone who lives in Las Vegas. I'm like, but I stopped at the first one, and I just haven't gotten to Trick Roller yet. Because my brain was so fucking blown by the ending of Kill Game. Okay, sidebar. What would you think if you were a cop chasing after a serial killer who kills people who have gotten away with serious crime?
Okay, now this is just the plot of Death Note, but
I mean, you're not wrong, but yeah, the main character is the cop.
When do they start fucking?
Actually, it's not the serial killer with him, but it is the I don't remember their names, but basically the cop has been chasing after this guy named Seven of Spades. I have a theory as to who he is, and I really hope it is because that would be just fucking topical. But basically, this guy kills people who have been tried and then acquitted for various crimes. Like in the first one, they talk about a guy who was accused of raping a girl in a college dorm, and he got away with it on a technicality. And yeah, he got brutally murdered, and I'm like, seriously? Anyway, so he starts working with a private investigator who he ends up running into, who might have a connection to one of the victims because he did a job for her. and they start kind of like having this back and forth, and it's so interesting because the main bad guy of the first book is not actually Seven of Spades. He's like a side note. He's like the overarching one. The main bad guy ends up cornering the cop, and you want to know who comes to the rescue?
Oh.
Seven of Spades. He contacts the freaking PI and tells him, "Hey, you want to save your new boyfriend? He's about to be killed. Go here." And I'm like, what?
It's amazing.
And I'm like, is this like a Joker and Batman thing? Or something where it's like, if I can't hurt him, then no one else can kind of thing?
Like, when do they start to fuck?
Oh, they fucked like right in the middle of the book. And, it was like something straight out of one of our stories. It was like bed-knocking, world-shattering kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was not expecting that.
This entire part is gonna have to get cut out.
Nah, I'm leaving this shit in. I'm not monetized, so it's like, whatever. I mean, I mark all my videos as, like, not for children. That's just my whole channel. But, yeah, it was just so good. And there's so many books I have on my Audible list that I need to read, including fucking Red, White, and Royal Blue. I need to, like, be on a trip for that one, because that's fucking 12 hours of my life. Oh, and I have soft stuff, like, I have one by an author named Letta Blake. She has a set of books, like the only one I have is Mr. Frosty Pants. It's a Christmas romance. I'm sorry. I'm such a hoe for Christmas romances.
Honestly, I'm only a hoe for Hallmark Christmas romances, because I hate Christmas.
Fair. But I will say Lifetime is getting better, and I heard through the grapevine that both Lifetime and Hallmark are going to be having LGBT romance movies for Christmas this year.
About goddamn time.
I remember last year they had the whole debacle of the commercials where it was like LGBT people like having a slight kiss. And like, I don't remember what group it was, but it was basically like the Christian moms got all up in arms about it and basically boycotted Hallmark, and Hallmark pulled their tail between their legs and took the commercials out. And then the backlash from the LGBTQ community hit, and they put them back.
Yeah, the LGBT were scarier than the moms.
Yeah. Oh, I do have A Night to Remember on here. I thought I hadn't gotten it yet.
You need to read it.
I know, I need to read it. I need to read all these, because it's like, how many do I have on here? Like, what is my actual number list? I think last I saw I have like 60? Oh, no, 71.
Jesus.
And I've read maybe 10% of those. I know, that's horrible.
Because my mom and I share a list, right now we have altogether 229 titles in our library, and all of them have been listened to at least once.
Nice. Oh, I got Howl's Moving... I didn't realize I had Howl's Moving Castle on my wish list.
Jesus Christ. My mom has listened to literally... So, about 29 of these titles belong to me.
The rest of them were hers.
Yes, and they're all murders and all murder mysteries, and she reads the nitty-gritty, like, black coffee in a chipped mug with grounds at the bottom.
I mean, more power to her. But...
She drinks it, and she adds glass, essentially. She likes the stuff that's, like, detailed and, like, real fucked up.
Law and Order, basically.
Worse than Law and Order, like true TV.
You know, I keep forgetting that the 10-year plan is also an audiobook. I'm sorry, that was a freaking roller coaster of a movie. It was, like, overly long, though.
Yeah.
A couple of books.
Another book that I'm reading, it's actually a comic book, and it's the nerdiest version of a comic book you could ever possibly choose to read, because it is a D&D comic book.
So you're doubling up on the nerd. Got it.
It is the Critical Role Vox Machina Origins comic book, Volume 1.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. I still need to... Okay, both you and my friend Cinnamon keep telling me, it's like, you need to watch Critical Role. I'm like, do I have the time to invest in that?
No.
Well, at least you're honest.
It's great to have. So when I'm doing my college papers, I have it running in the background, which is how I got through about 80 episodes in 2 months.
Wow.
Because it was getting close to final season at that point, and I needed background noise. But Critical Role is right now, the second season is at 106 episodes.
Ooh.
And the episodes are between 3.5 to 5.5 hours long.
Yo, what? Well, actually, that makes sense, considering they're an actual, like, D&D game.
They do full D&D sessions. They don't edit anything out.
Okay, I was gonna ask, are they edited, but...
No, they're not edited. And they're all voice actors, so it's amazing. And
Yeah.
highly recommend it if you want something to have, like, as background noise when you're working, but also if you want to, like, actually sit down and watch it and watch how they interact. Don't have time.
See, the problem is that when I want to... Okay, this is my biggest problem when it comes to, like, TV shows or movies. If it's something I haven't seen before, I want to watch it and I want to experience it. But if it's something that I've seen, like, 1,000 times, then I can just have it as background noise and be fine with that. That's why I have so many TV shows and movies that I want to watch, but I never get around to them because I'm usually just working. Or I'm so fucking tired from working or what have you. Okay, before I started this podcast and when I was getting everything ready, I was re-listening to Leverage. I don't know if you've ever watched Leverage, but I've seen this show so many times that seriously I could probably comment it verbatim.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it's one of the few like heist shows that I like, and it's 5 seasons worth with some good characterization. There is some that it's like questionable, but for the most part, it's good. And they're doing a revival of it now.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
If you do want to watch a D&D show, it's shorter, I highly recommend Dimension 20.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do like strictly, traditional D&D because the first ever show was called Fantasy High, where they have all the D&D races at an adventuring high school. It's essentially
it's a homebrew, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty homebrew. It's really fun. They do edit a lot of like the stuff out just so it can fit into like an hour and a half long episodes.
Yeah.
And they film everything like within quick succession of each other. So an entire like part of a campaign will only take 2 weeks to run. I personally love it. It's great.
The only one that I found that I've been able to actually like watch and get into was one that it was just a single session done by Chris Perkins over at Wizards of the Coast, the actual company that makes that D&D Dungeons and Dragons. He did a special session with 5 of the writers and performers for the show Robot Chicken, that cartoon show. Okay. No joke, only 2 out of the 5 guys who were asked to do this had ever played Dungeons & Dragons. The other 3 were newbies.
That's amazing.
So if you actually want a good representation of what 4th edition was like, I highly recommend it because I recommend watching this because it's like 25 parts. You can watch it in the span of a day. And because Chris Perkins actually works for Wizards of the Coast, he knows the rules, he knows how the game is played, and he is very knowledgeable and very creative. And there's some lines in this show that they made me fall over laughing. Because one of the characters, he's played by one of the new guys, Zeb Wells, and he's a warforged, and they're trying to figure out how to get this semi-sentient fire ballista down into a grotto area full of, like, ice and cold. They're talking about, like, doing landscaping shit, and he's like, if we do not get a shield by the end of this video, I am done. I am laying down for a nap. Because they spent so much time talking about how they could get this ballista to go down with them. And one of the guys goes, it's like, well, do we know if we even want to go down into the grotto? And the guy says, so we're basing our entire strategy on this semi-sentient flamethrower. I'm like, what the hell?
I really think you would enjoy Dimension 20 because it's based more on comedy than it is on actually playing the game. So if it's funny, it happens.
Yeah.
Like literally in the first second episode, the tiniest wizard girl kills a lunch lady with her ladle while crying.
What the hell?
It's great. I highly recommend it. Watch it.
Oh, that's hilarious. So we will end this here. Thank you all for coming to listen to our first podcast, and I will try to get this out as soon as possible. No promises, though. So, bye, everyone.
Bye.